guys, Angel here. I'm so excited about this video because I got a question the other day from an awesome subscriber. Hey lady, and thank you so much for asking the question. She wanted me to make a video about how I opened up my boutique, and I know I've talked about it, like I've sprinkled the story in here and there throughout some of my videos, but I don't think I've ever dedicated a whole video to it. So here we go. So about 10 years ago I opened up my boutique. And how I did it was nothing less than a miracle. And you guys will, by the end of the story, you guys will know why I'm always telling you guys to just go and find out what you need to know in order to make your dreams happen. So this time, about 10 years ago, prior to me opening up my store, I've always known that I've been like really creative. But when I closed my boutique, when I closed my cleaning business, I was then home again with my second daughter, and we would just, like do arts and crafts stuff on the floor, playing around. And then I started making purses, and I started making jewelry, and I started making things that you could actually use and wear. And so I put together, actually before that, I actually would send some pieces to work with my sister, and she would sell some pieces at work, and then I would sell stuff like to my neighbors and my friends and things like that. And then it dawned on me, like, why don't I turn this into another real business? Like, I stopped cleaning, so now I have this time to do this. Now this was a 2-year span. Actually it was like 2 or 3 years after I closed my store. After I closed my store, maybe it was about 3 years before I actually opened up my the brick and mortar boutique after I closed my cleaning business. But prior to that, you guys, for 2 years, I would say, I'm gonna own a store on Main Street. I'm gonna be a boutique owner. Like, I would just say that because I had the desire to do so. Now, in every major city, there's always a Main Street in their city. And on that Main Street, it's typically where all the, either there's mom and pop shops there, or that's where the unique boutiques are that you can only go and get like one of a kind pieces and things like that. And so I knew I wanted to be in an area like that. And where we lived at the time, we were literally less than 5 minutes driving away from Main Street. And so I used to shop on my own Main Street, and I would just be like, I'm gonna own a store on Main Street. So one day I had made bookmarks, and you guys, oh, I wish I had the bookmarks. Oh, I don't know where they are. But anyway, so I used to hand make bookmarks, and I would take them to stores and sell them. Well, my bookmarks were in a bookstore, and I was selling pretty regularly through that bookstore. And then I started making journals, and I would take my journals and I would sell my journals to the bookstore as well. And so I figured, to get onto Main Street, why don't I go to Main Street and try and get some of my bookmarks in to some of the small boutiques there. Well, I went to 2 of the shops there on Main Street, and they both told me no. They both told me they didn't have a market for what I was selling, and they told me no. So I was a little upset. I was like, okay, well, dag. But then, now I told you I was on the Main Street that I wanted to be on, and I asked the 2 store owners if I could sell my items in their store, and they both told me no. Well, 2 months later, guess who's their neighbor? Me! 2 months after them turning me down, I was blessed with an entire store. Now, prior to this, I don't want this video to be too long, but prior to me going into the actual store that I owned, I used to shop there, and that was one store that did say yes to having my bookmarks there, and so I would sell my bookmarks in the store that I had no idea that years later I myself would own. But when I first tried to own this same exact store that I ended up owning, I went into it with a partner, and she was a hairstylist, and I was going to do my thing, in the back part of the store. Well, the store owner said no to that same store owner that said yes to me years later, turned me down years before, because he didn't have, the building was old, and my friend needed the electricity to be a little bit more robust than what this building was capable of. And so he wasn't willing to up the electricity in that space that we were inquiring about. So again, I was told no. So then after that, that's, you know, when I later on went to own it by myself. And I actually talk about it in my first book, how my oldest daughter was like, "Mommy, don't be sad. Maybe God has a bigger store for you." And he did. It was the same store, but it was the whole store. Where when I went into it, I was just going to be satisfied with utilizing the back half because of I was going in with a partner. So for 2 years, I would just say, "I want to own a store. I want to own a store, and it's going to be on Main Street." I was very specific, so I got the store. Now, when I called to speak with the owner about renting the space, the rent from my store, and I'll actually find some pictures of my boutique and I'll put them somewhere here, but when I went in to have the meeting with the store owner, he told me that the rent for the store was going to be $500 a month. But he went on to say, "I typically take the first month down." He said, "But I just have a feeling." He said, "I get a good feeling from you. Just give me," now this is what he said, "just give me $250 today and give me the other half, the other $250 in 2 more weeks." He said, "I want you to walk in here comfortably." You guys, I had $249 in the bank. I wrote the check for $250, went home, found $1, put it in the bank so the check would clear. Now, I know there's some analytical people out there that are like, "Oh my God, that's all you had was $250? Yes, that's all we had. Now, if you don't know my backstory, I am a young girl from Baltimore off of welfare, you guys. So I had this welfare mentality. So yes, I only had $249 in the bed. That was our entire savings. Like, if that's a savings, that's all the money that we had. And so, like I said, I wrote the check. Well, you guys, at this time I was not working. It was only my husband that was working, and my husband is a welder. And my husband's always made, you know, a decent income. However, at this time, right when I was getting ready to go into that store, now I only had $249, wrote the check. So we had no money, you guys, zero. Maybe we had like $20 or $30 to get us to my husband's next paycheck. But his next paycheck was a substantial next paycheck because they had, I don't know if you guys are familiar with doing government work. So what my husband being a welder, he's now in the union. His pay doesn't fluctuate like that anymore. But at that time, my husband, I think, was bringing home like $740 or something a week. And so right before I went into the store, he went to a government job they were building. He is a welder. So he was welding something on government property. Well, when you do any kind of work on government property, the amount goes up. I don't know why, but a government job, like, we used to get so happy when he was going to be on a government job because his pay would go up. And so, like I said, he was bringing home about $740 a week. Well, when he got on this government job, he stayed on it for about 6 months, approximately about 6 months. And he was bringing home $1,700 a week. And so to go from $700 a week to now add another $1,000 on top of that, that's how we were able to move into the store comfortably and to be able to stock the store. And so that's how I got into that store, you guys. I literally stepped out on faith, and I hesitate to say that because I know we say that term so lightly. I believe stepping out on faith is stepping out of your freaking bed. I believe that stepping out on faith is getting into your freaking car. And do you know, like, really realizing, like, you're driving down the Beltway doing 60, 70, 80, sometimes 90 miles an hour with all these cars, shoom, shoom, you know, going by you. That's a miracle to get home, you know, safe and sound. So that's stepping out on faith. So I use that term lightly because I believe that everything is stepping out on faith. So I'll rephrase that. I just gave him the money knowing that this was a desire of mine, and I knew that it was from God because I never went to school to learn how to make jewelry. I never went to school for any of that. It was just, it was my gift. And so I cashed in on my gift. So that's how I opened my store. I was in business at my store for 3 years, you guys. During that 3 years, before I even opened the store, you guys, I never even wrote down a business plan. So I'm in the store. I mean, just like So my husband and I, we would go to New York. I would take a whole bunch of money to New York. I wouldn't calculate how much I was taking. Like, I didn't know how much inventory I had in my store. One of my friends had to come in and tell me, Angel, you need to do inventory. You need to know how much money you have in your store. So I think the very first time I did inventory was like my second year. I mean, it was crazy, y'all. Anyway, so I wanted to show you guys, and this is why I tell you guys, I always tell my clients to at least get in the know. And what that means is, if you have a desire to open up your own boutique, and I don't care if your account is in the freaking red right now, go to the location that you want to open up your store and just walk around there. Pretend that it's already yours. That's all I did. And I say this all the time, you guys, that my husband and I, we dream for a living. That's what we do. Like, we dream for a living. So go out and get in the know of what it is that you are passionate about, so you'll know what the very next step is. You guys, if I were to just sit on my bed and just say, you know, oh, I wish I could own a store, I want to open up a store, but I never made any phone calls, I never went to any locations, I would still be sitting in that apartment that we were sitting in 5 years ago. But you have to step out and at least get into the know. I didn't have the money, nor did I have the credit to match where I was going, but I still went. And so often we sit and we wait for all of our ducks to be in a row before we go do something. At least get in the know of it. So once you don't have the money right now, at least go look at it. It doesn't cost you anything to look at it. And another thing, so often we sit in our homes and we try and think of how we're going to make this thing happen. Well, the same ideas that you had in that same space, they're the same ideas that you're going to have today if you were sitting there thinking about it yesterday. But when you go to the spot, when you go to the location that you're desiring to have, or whatever it is, if it's a new car, go test drive it. When you get to that spot, you're going to get new ideas on how to attain it. That's why I always tell you guys to just go. So I wanted to share with you guys some things. This is why I talk so much, especially with my clients, about branding. You guys, I was in my store. I had no clue what, I mean, my bags that people would, that I would pack their stuff in, they weren't consistent. I would get, you know, just those cute bags from the dollar store. Whatever was cute, I would buy them. And my tissue paper didn't match. My store didn't match, but it was cute though. It just ain't match. But this is, I want to show you guys, this is one of the signs that I had in the front of my store. It was like on the sidewalk of my store, and if you see this arrow, so this was pointing down, and this is the actual sign that I had on my store. I know that's big. This is the actual sign that I had on my actual on the store. These don't match, you guys. Do you see that? Like, this sign should have been a smaller rendition of this sign. You guys, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, I was just in there having fun and living my passion and meeting some amazing, amazing women. And that is how I started to officially coach women, was actually in my store. Women were coming to my store to buy stuff, yes, but I found that they were coming to talk to me more so than they were coming to get the purse that they bought. You know, they would buy the purse, and then 3 hours later, we're still sitting there talking, and I'm praying and they're crying, and vice versa. Like, it was just amazing. But one of the signs that I had in my store, and I love this, it says, your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. I love that because I still use that to this day. You know, sometimes we get upset if people don't like our stuff. Well, you got to use that as a learning tool. Your feelings cannot be in business, you guys. Your money has no feelings, and neither should you pertaining to it. Here is my Maryland my Maryland sales and use tax license. Like, I have this folder that says store memories on it, and I just have things like, the owner of the store was so amazing. He has now since passed away. I still have Mr. Bobby's obituary in here, and I have cards from people that would, like, oh my God, my customers were amazing. They were so they were just amazing. So that is the story of how I opened up my boutique. And I know it's crazy. Like, I didn't have the money. I didn't have a business plan. The only thing I had was a passion and a desire, and I just stepped out there and I did it. So that is the conclusion of how I opened up my store. And since we're talking about writing down your dreams and your goals and your visions, I wanted to remind you guys that the My Life Vision Journal is still, not now, it's still available. I will post all the information in the description box below for you guys to get this journal. Write out your visions, get them clear, make them clear, write them down, get a visual of them, go take a picture of the place that you want to open, or the car that you want to manifest. Take a picture of it, grab it, put it in your My Life Vision Journal, open it daily, journal, write, and manifest. You guys, I love you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.